Alrighty, Jacked Couch Potato back and with another video. Today we are going to be talking about, well, the same old. Same old, same old. This is going to be the same old stuff. Well, I have a new coat. I got a new shirt. I am ready and prepared for this. What even is this? A podcast? I don't even know. It's like a informative lecture type thing I'm doing. Whatever. Well, what I'm doing is I'm trying to provide the most amount of value to the most amount of people that I possibly can and hoping that it sticks. Hoping that I can throw that on the wall and it sticks. And whatever I throw on the wall, I throw multiple things on the wall, and hopefully at the end of the day, one of those things are going to stick. And if they don't, then I don't know what to say. I lost. Anyway, we left off on how can I improve my endurance for running or cycling, and I covered that in a fair amount of depth, I believe. So if you want, you can check out the previous video. I'm not going to be getting into that because that may or may not be redundant for the purposes of this video, considering this particular video is going to be a longer one, I believe, as the questions that are coming up within this range is definitely going to be recurring, in a sense that I have the previous questions that I've answered in so much depth that the questions ahead of time are ultimately going to be previously answered, so I can essentially skip over some questions or briefly cover them in a sense. But the previous episodes have already gotten into depth regarding the answers of those questions, and further diving into them wouldn't be necessary for the series. But I will go into brief explanation. So, how can I improve my endurance for running or cycling? I already covered that, and what you are going to notice is my answer for this is going to cover on an answer is going to be completely the same as the answer for how do I increase my push-ups, which is later in this episode, so I won't necessarily need to answer both. However, I'm going to answer this in a quick way. Essentially, what I say is intermittent activities throughout the day. Take your 100% output of what you can personally output. So if you could run for 5 minutes straight at top speed, take 80% of that, which would be, guess what? I can't do mental calculations in my head, so I'm going to have to be doing that again. All right, so 5 minutes. I think it's going to be 4 minutes. Not entirely sure, but let's just see. 5 times 0.8, yeah, 4 minutes. So, essentially what I'm getting into is do it twice daily. Oh my gosh, I kind of feel like I'm a doctor. I'm like prescribing an exercise. This is kind of funny anyways. Okay, so actually covering in on this, what I've noticed from my previous episode, the second episode, and why I have not posted it yet is because my transition word is and and throughout the episode I cover in a lot of depth on different topics, and I go like the content is very powerful. I believe it goes into a lot of depth regarding the material I'm covering and the questions that, and I believe that it answers a lot of crucial questions, and it answers a lot of crucial questions in depth and in an underlying message that covers not just the question itself, but relates to different fields and kind of interconnects them in a more holistic way. Okay. However, that being said, the transition word that I chose to use in that particular episode was and which personally I see can have an impact and mitigate the effectiveness of the message that I'm trying to convey. So since I have perfectionistic tendencies, I'm going to be working on reducing the ums and uhs throughout my next episodes. All right. How can I improve my endurance for running or cycling? Well, improving endurance for running and cycling, exactly what I said, is if you can run at your full pace, like, again, I cover in high intensity interval training with this as well. As high intensity interval training, I stated in the previous episode, is that I personally believe it should be used for bridging plateaus rather than fat loss that it is commonly used for. Anyways, what you will do is you will use this principle of high intensity interval training, for example, the principle that I gave, the example I gave actually, but the underlying principle remains the same. The example I gave was lamppost, sprint to a lamppost, stop. Light jog to the next lamppost, sprint to the next lamppost as fast as you possibly can, and then just interchange these consistently, and eventually your plateau will be bridged and your my apologies. Just okay. Remember, this is all one takes. I'm juggling a lot of concepts in my head at this moment, and I'm trying to articulate it in the best possible way that I can. All right. Essentially, take the 100% output over a period of time. So if you can output 100% of your effort, which ultimately is not going to be possible because, like I stated in the other episode, that there's roughly a 30% cap. So basically just take what you can do in the moment over a certain period of time, find 80% of that output, and do that twice daily, and that's your prescription. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's your prescription. So, and this covers into the push-up one as well. How can I improve my endurance? Run for 4 minutes, because the previous example I gave, if you can run at your max capacity for 5 minutes straight before getting completely winded, then lower it, do 80% of that, so that would be 4 minutes at your maximum capacity, and do that twice daily until it feels natural and easy to do. And once it's effortless, you can then start bridging up. You can do like 5 minutes, for example, and do that twice daily until that's effortless, and then go up to 6 minutes, etc. And through that, you'll gradually go up and gradually get stronger and better. And you will be minimizing risks because you're not going to be fully exerting yourself to the limits that can cause significant wear and tear, in a sense. You're going to be moderating what you are doing, essentially. And you'll see this in my answer when it comes to the push-ups as well. If you can do 50 push-ups in a row, knock that down to 40 push-ups in a row, do that twice daily until 40 push-ups become effortless, and gradually increase that over time, and eventually you'll be able to get to 100 push-ups in a row. All right. Time to do the next question. Is it possible to lose fat and build muscle at the same time? Now, my particular stance on this is that the traditional idea of losing fat and building muscle at the same time goes with doing cardio simultaneously with weight training, and that just simply isn't going to cut it. Because the cardio is going to The aerobic exercise is essentially going to hinder the anaerobic exercises that you're doing because there's going to be a trade-off. The more cardiovascular exercises that you're doing, the less hypertrophic gains. Here, I'm trying to get my thumbs in here in the best way I can. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's do this in a visual manner. So, is it possible to lose fat at this? The more cardio you up your cardio, what happens to the muscle gain potential? Goes down. And vice versa. If you up your muscle, your cardiovascular potential is going to go down. Type thing. There's going to be a trade-off in this modem that that is commonly associated with burning fat and building muscle at the same time. But in order to kind of meet in the middle, it's the approach by which you take to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. It's not necessarily going to be a cardiovascular and weight training approach that you are going to be wanting to take into consideration. It's more going to be around the fact that it's more going to be the illusory. I think that's the word that you're going to want to use, the illusory, the illusion of losing fat while building muscle at the same time. You see, in order to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, you are going to be wanting to reduce the amount of fat that you are getting, which will ultimately give off the illusion that you're losing fat and building muscle at the same time, because most of the time, when people are actively building muscle, they're going to be getting fat as well. And this is through sugar, this is through the sheer amount of protein that you're intaking. So you're going to be wanting to find protein, or find the line of protein specifically that doesn't increase your body fat percentage to an extreme degree. And if you can find that line in the most effective way that you possibly can, it will be crucial towards reducing your need for cardiovascular activity. And I'm not saying that I'm against cardiovascular activity in the slightest. I believe that doing cardio is great because the heart is arguably one of the most important muscles in your body, because without the heart you would essentially not be able to pump nutrients throughout your body, and those nutrients are vital for, you guessed it, muscle growth, because they supply the muscles with the required nutrients to repair itself, stuff like that. Anyways, cardiovascular activity is definitely going to be important in this. However, the mainstream approach is to up your cardio and up your weight training at the same time and up your protein intake, which, if you go back to the efficiency principle, what you are essentially doing is you're bringing your intake up in hopes that you're bringing your input up in hopes that your output goes up as well. And this is a trade-off, because essentially what you're doing is you're doing more work for the same amount of results, or potentially less results. And that's bad. So, in the grand scheme of things, is it possible to lose fat and build muscle at the same time? Yes, it is. But it's going to be a significant challenge if you're attempting to do this under the traditional approaches. And that's basically where I'm going to cap that off, because getting into all of the details would be difficult. I'm definitely going to have to write pages on that. This is going to be in the book that I am writing. So yeah, it is possible to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. However, with the current approaches of going about it through a cardiovascular medium is not the right way in that sense. All right. How can I improve my endurance for running or... Never mind, my bad. Okay. How do I get rid of belly fat? Again, reduce sugar intake. And that is ultimately going to be my number one answer. Reduce and be patient. Be patient, be in a calorie deficit. Not too big of a calorie deficit, because you don't want to be... See, you can picture your body as this system that fluctuates. And if you reduce something, another thing is going to have to increase. So if you decrease something, for example, your calories, to a certain degree, certain biological factors are going to have to increase to compensate for the decrease that you've done. And if the decrease is significant enough, those increased factors are going to increase to the point where it could potentially cause harm to you as an individual. And by balancing these factors, you are ultimately going to get the most bang for your buck, in a sense. So how do I get rid of belly fat? You're going to want to... I personally believe the best way to go about decreasing the need for biological functions increasing to a harmful degree in that sense is going to have to be dispersing your efforts in different ways. Rather than putting all your eggs in one basket and having that basket explode in your face, you want to displace your eggs throughout different baskets. So, and don't focus all your attention on, let's say, cardio. Don't focus all your attention on, let's say, reducing calories. Don't focus all your attention on minimizing sugar. It's more gradually bring all of those factors down so that you don't run the risk of having your biological processes skyrocket because you have decreased one of those aspects in a very significant way that has your body freaking out about it and having to increase other factors that could potentially harm you. And a perfect example of this is if you don't eat, you don't intake enough, you can become hypoglycemic and your body will skyrocket and go out of control. Cortisol levels will increase, and which is just stress hormones, right? And all of these factors will play into that. And essentially what I'm trying to get at is you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to find ways to spread your eggs across many different baskets so that the toll that it takes on your body is not going to be as significant, and you will be able to gradually go down without harming yourself in that sense and causing psychological issues in that. Because ultimately, if you have a spike of cortisol, let's say you're starving yourself throughout a longer period of time, because that is the basket. The basket that you're trying to put all your eggs in to lose weight is losing calories. And you put everything into not eating to lower your body fat percentage or your belly fat in the context of this question. And through that, your biological processes become erratic. They start spiraling. They're out of control. And your cortisol levels, your norepinephrine is like going crazy. Sorry. I I keep thinking parasympathetic, but it's not, is it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. My bad. The parasympathetic nervous system is like, or the sympathetic nervous system is out of control. Hold on. Let me just check this out for a second. Differences between parasympathetic and parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. All right, your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems have opposite roles. While your sympathetic nervous system carries signals that put your body systems on alert, your parasympathetics. Okay. So basically, it's the sympathetic nervous system is going to be out of control, and it's going to be causing all these things to skyrocket. You're going to be put into hypoglycemia. You're going to be in a fight or flight scenario, and your body is essentially going to be fighting itself. And this is definitely not good. And it's all because you decided to put all your eggs in one basket, and that basket is to stop eating, essentially, so that you can lose belly fat. Opposed to if you spread that goal that you have to lose body fat over many different baskets, like reducing sugar intake, reducing the calories that you're intaking by a little bit, and then doing some cardio. And ultimately, all those things are going to be working together. And you can also add another basket, which is weight training and gaining muscle, right? Because the more muscle you have, muscle's metabolically active, and it burns a percentage of calories throughout the day. And the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to be burning, and ultimately, the less your belly fat is, the more belly fat you're going to be burning, and essentially the less belly fat you're going to have. And that's ultimately my message when it comes to this. Do not, and I repeat, do not put all your eggs in one basket, because the baskets, most often or not, you're either going to get really lucky. You're either going to get really, really, really lucky and everything's going to go well, which is very, 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 very slim. Very slim chance of that. Or it's going to blow up in your face and you're going to be hospitalized. You're going to have to go on medication to counterbalance these effects, when you could have just gradually lowered all other baskets instead of relying on distorting the equilibrium of a single basket. Anyways, that's my answer to that. What's the difference between losing weight and losing fat? Again, I've covered this in other previous episodes. Weight can be lost through losing fat. Yes, you can lose weight through losing fat. You can lose weight through dehydrating yourself, which is just losing water weight. And you can even lose weight through, well, picture this. Somebody comes along with an axe and cuts your arm off. Well, you have lost a lot of weight there, haven't you? Yeah, that is a terrible example, but I guess it paints the picture. You could have osteodegenerative disease, which basically is where your bones are like compact in a sense, and then they start to dissipate. The structures and the proteins that make up those bones kind of disappear in that sense, and they weaken, and there's not as much of them being produced, and all those factors which can significantly reduce your weight, and that would not be tied into losing fat. So definitely Definitely the differences between losing weight and losing fat can be apparent when you're looking at it in a more holistic sense. Fat is one portion of an individual's body, while weight is more everything combined. And you can lose weight in many different ways. Hopefully not some of the ways that I talked about, like an osteodegenerative disease or getting your extremities cut off. That would not be nice either. Hopefully you lose weight through... See, what's interesting is you can actually lose weight through losing muscle as well. You can lose weight through losing water. You can lose weight through losing fat. You can lose weight through losing muscle. You can lose weight through losing bone tissue. You can lose weight through... You can lose weight because weight is just the total percentage of everything accumulated within your body. And fat is just, fat. It's adipose tissue. It's kind of like an insulator if you look at that. It keeps you warm. Anyway, and it also has different properties. I'm not going to get into that because that's something. Fat definitely contributes in a lot of different functions throughout the body. Like the brain. The brain needs fat. The brain definitely needs its good old adipose tissue to support in its structures and glial cells, stuff like that. Neural glia. I think that's the word for it. On the top of my head. See, again, I'm in college. I'm learning this stuff like that. But yeah, definitely the brain. The brain has like 60% fat. So it definitely needs a lot of fat to work. So fat is definitely important, that's for sure. Anyways, that's kind of how I'm going to answer that question. I didn't really answer it in the best way possible, I believe, but I answered it in the best way that I possibly could in this moment, and that's all that matters. I hope you guys got something out of that. The differences between weight and fat. You can lose weight through losing any portion of your body. And I guess you could lose fat through losing any portion of your body that contains fat, because you would lose a percentage of that fat, but you'd also lose weight. So they go hand in hand. They work in tandem. Anyway. And this is kind of what you'll see throughout your body, is pretty much everything in your body works interconnectively in this web, so to speak. And this web is very synergistic. This web is very synergistic as they work in synergy. They work together to produce outcomes, and by off-balancing a singular particle within your body, you can create a cascading effect that can hinder other aspects of your body. So if you look at it like a web, for example, and you flick one of the webs on the edge, the whole web will vibrate, and that will reverberate throughout your body, and in different functions and chemicals, electrical signals, hormones, stuff like that are going to have to be produced to kind of compensate for that reverberation and that initial flick of the system that you initially caused through flicking the web, in a sense, if that paints a picture of kind of how your body works. Your body's actually a really unique and fascinating system. Sorry. How do I get better at push-ups? Voila, look at that. That was covered. And I'm going to skip that because I already covered it. How do I target specific muscles like my glutes or arms? Again, that was kind of tugged. No. That was kind of targeted in the previous episode that I haven't released yet because of the copious amounts of ums and ahs I used. However, I think I'm just gonna YOLO it, and I'm gonna say, guys, write an counter. How many times did I say in that video? In the previous video, that would be funny if you can count how many ums I said or how many uhs I said. That will be like a trend, I guess. Maybe it's probably not the best trend, but I mean, if it gets my videos out there and my information to the masses, and hopefully my information is good enough to be presented, then, and hopefully it's good enough to have a substantial impact on you guys and help you with your lives and your fitness journeys and stuff like that. Because again, when I try to answer a question, I try to answer a question in a way that doesn't just target the subject of the question, but gives you guys a modem or a methodology that you can work off of to answer other questions. And that's precisely why previous questions that I've answered answer questions that may be in the future or later down the road, which I personally believe is a good base to work off of. See, if you build the base, you can build the pyramid. And the tip of the pyramid is ultimately where you want to be and ultimately where you want to get at. And through building that base, you can use the base that you have already established to work through different questions. And essentially what I'm saying is, no matter what the subject of the question is, if you've built the base, you can answer the question in the best possible way that you can, ultimately regarding how well your base is built. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to incorporate the base that I have personally built. And I'm not saying my base is right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's the best base out there. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm simply saying personally my intentions are in alignment with my teachings, and I am trying to help. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do. My intentions of giving the best possible information that I possibly can regarding the questions that I am answering will be reflected through my intentions, and that's my intention. And I believe so long as I have that intention, I will be providing the best information that I can. And hopefully it will, again, like the flick of the web, reverberate through the potential fan base that I develop and help them throughout their lives. And maybe give them insights. Because again, I cover this in the first episode, I believe, that I'm not always going to be there. So developing an ability of introspection, developing an ability of self-awareness, essentially, being able to handle situations on your own, building your base so that when questions like this in your life, in different forms, questions come in different forms, right? Sometimes it'll come in written forms, other times it'll come in visual forms, like there's a problem in your life and you have to essentially solve that problem. And if you don't have a solid base to work off of, or you always rely on other people to solve your problems for you because they have a greater base than you, which is not necessarily true, by the way. It may just come into factors that they portray themselves as overtly more confident in their understanding of said material and ability to problem solve opposed to you, when in reality you may actually have a better base than that person. You simply need to acknowledge that and trust yourself in a way that aligns with your ability to problem solve. And that's basically my goal, is to empower everybody in the most empowering way I can. That's basically what I'm trying to do here. And if I can, and again, I'm not saying my base is better than anybody else's. I'm not saying that. I'm simply doing my best to provide the best the best overarching concepts that I can that can be applied to every single field that it can be applied to. Essentially, I'm trying to be broad with my answers, but narrow at the same time. So the concepts are broad, but they can be applied narrowly. If that resonates on any level, I think. Quote that. Quote that. That was actually pretty powerful. The concepts are broad, but can be applied narrowly. That's really good. I like that. That's basically my goal. Anyways, how do I target specific muscles? Again, being able to target specific muscles is going to be proportional to the intention and the stimulus that you have whilst going into it. So, going back into the mind body environment map, which I have worked tirelessly to construct. Actually, I wrote an entire book on this when I was 17. And I actually published it myself, in the sense that I taught myself how to make a book, and I formatted it, and I printed it on my printer in the basement, and that's that. And it basically covers the mind-body environment map that I was envisioning, and how everything is interconnected in this holistic fashion. And this allows me to answer questions in ways that may not have been previously interpreted. See, how do I target specific muscles like my glutes or arms? For example, a good modem to operate off of, this is how I personally operate. I create systems that I can operate off of that have been almost proven, tried, and tested, in a sense that I look for base concepts that I can work around, and these base concepts have never failed, in the sense that they've never failed yet. And until they fail, I can trust that what I'm doing and what I'm saying is going to be the best possible information that I can give. That's powerful. That was a powerful way of saying that, I believe. Anyway, mind-body environment map. How do I target specific muscles like my glutes or arms? Well, picture this. This is basically the summary of the idea situating around the mind-body environment map. Your environment is anything outside your body. And I don't want to get into the idea that it's outside your mind, because I believe that your mind and your environment and your body is all one, in a sense. And this can be seen through many different philosophies and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into the other stuff because I don't want to get canceled or be considered a hippie, in a sense. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. So funny though. Anyways, sorry. That's too funny. Like I'm not. I definitely don't want to be seen as this guru with who sits on like a rock and meditates. That's funny and has all the answers in life. That's hilarious. Anyway, okay, so the base idea of the mind-body environment map is essentially stating that your mind takes stimulus from your environment and then creates a blueprint, in a sense, and then that blueprint is then transmutated into something that your body can work off of, and then your body works off of this blueprint to make it reality, in a sense. So, and this goes back into how your environment essentially reinforces your mental processes, and those mental processes reinforces the state that your body is in, and the state that your body is in then reinforces your environment, and everything kind of works together to reinforce itself in this holistic, synergistic web in that. sense. And essentially what I'm saying is I'm covering on this because intention plays a huge role. You can see intention as the bridge between the mind and the body and the environment. If you look at it like that, the intention is the underlying principle that basically formulates the blueprints, in a sense, if you can see it like that. So picture this. Your mind sees a dumbbell. I'm going to take a dumbbell, actually. So for the sake of this, let's say your mind takes this dumbbell. It sees this dumbbell. This is just 15 pounds. All right. So your mind has this 15-pound dumbbell. And what it does is it formulates a blueprint based off the weight, based off the characteristics that this dumbbell has, essentially. And this blueprint, and essentially what happens is this blueprint is the intention, in a sense, and this blueprint is transmutated into your body, and through which your body uses this blueprint to produce the necessary results that you want to produce. Essentially what happens is the dumbbell, when considering the mind-body environment map, is effectively nil and void. And this is why what I am talking about is going to be so revolutionary to the fitness industry and to other industries. So the mind-body environment map states that external stimulus is nil and void to a certain degree. To a certain degree. Get this. So 15-pound dumbbell essentially works in correspondence because it's part of your environment. Your body takes that 15-pound dumbbell and uses it, and your mind transmutates the environmental stimulus that is being impressed upon your body and formulates a blueprint based off that, and that blueprint basically gets sent back into your body, and your body uses this blueprint to produce results. And that is specifically why, let's say you can, okay, and that is specifically why certain people can get absolutely mind-blowingly jacked with less weight, and then other people have to use greater amount of weight to get mind-blowingly absolute jacked. In that sense. So, how do I target specific muscles? It's ultimately going to be situated around the intention that you have and the weight that so the weight, the external factors don't really matter that much. And the reason they matter in current scientific knowledge, the scope of exercise science, is because of the environmental effects on your body and how they are transmutated into the mind, and how the mind takes that stimulus that is impressed upon your body via the environment, and it creates a blueprint based off that, which is then sent back into the body, and the body works to produce that blueprint. And that is specifically why certain exercises produce certain results. However, that exact notion, what I personally believe is that the fitness industry and the current science is missing a huge chunk. And this huge chunk is essentially covered in the mind-body environment map. And I know I'm sounding like I'm advertising my old book that I wrote when I was 17, but I'm kind of using the frameworks that I stumbled upon through studying myriad of different subjects. Like, I would study philosophy, I would study psychology, psychiatry, study all this fancy dancy stuff. I even studied nature, I studied systems, I I studied all these. I studied anatomy, physiology, biology, all of these. And currently I'm 19. I'm not saying I have all answers in life or whatever. However, this research that I have made, I've gathered all this research and I've formulated it into the mind body environment map when I was 17, and I wrote this an entire book about it. And I stumbled upon some conclusions that could potentially be revolutionary when it comes to the fitness industry, but not just fitness as a whole, but health in general. So the medical industry, stuff like that. And essentially, it doesn't just cover on placebos, like, take this sugar pill and you'll get better. It doesn't just explain that, but it explains so many more factors, like why curling builds you big biceps, but then why doing back rows builds you big biceps as well. It covers so much. And to explain that in the limited amount of time that I have would be near impossible. And I believe the best thing that I can personally do is formulate all my ideas into a singular work of art, a book, and publish it for mass consumption. Hopefully, if it gets out there, hopefully if it works, hopefully if there are certain experts that can back this up, see where I'm getting at, because I personally believe that everything is connected in this synergistic web, to say. And personally, I know in my mind it's not necessarily a web. It's just I use the web analogy to kind of convey the ideas in a more grounded approach. And that's basically it. And I know I didn't really explain this question, but I got into the base principle that does explain this question. How do I target specific muscles, like my glutes or arms? Okay, so from a more grounded approach, you can find the physiological components and the physiological modems that you can use to target these muscles. So, taking into consideration the biceps work. If you take a physiological and kinesiological perspective on the biceps brachii, you'll see that they move. They are connected through. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to put this in the simplest terms I possibly can. So I'm going to go into basic components. So the biceps. When flexing the biceps or contracting, the angle of the elbow shortens. See? When extending or lengthening the bicep, the angle of the elbow increases. And vice versa. So, again, taking into consideration that certain athletes can use various different weights, and those weights produce results for those specific athletes that are sometimes even better. And there's no ability to draw the parallel, in a sense, between heavyweights make you jacked and lightweights don't. There's no ability to do that. You can't simply say that he lifts heavy and therefore he's jacked, or he's jacked so he must lift heavy, or he's jacked so he must lift light, or he's jacked so he lifts light. It's not that. It's not that cut and dry, in a sense. It's that there's definitely a myriad of components that go into this, and your body can even lie to you, which is interesting. It can lie to you with with the delayed onset muscle soreness as well. A lot of people factor in the delayed onset muscle soreness as if it's a clear-cut signal that your muscles are growing, and that again can be misleading. And there are a lot of misleading characteristics that are often associated with muscle growth, and these characteristics are, but not limited to, obviously, delayed onset muscle soreness, the strain that you're feeling while doing the exercises, and other factors that go into this, like the resistance, the stretch of the exercise. Like if you're doing a bicep curl, where is the stretch? So if I'm doing bicep curls, right? And if I'm doing it in the lengthened position, this is a new research. Well, it's not really new research. It's been there as essentially, if you get into it, if you get into the deep-rooted concepts, I know I'm getting deep right now, but if you truly think about it, the basic principles of energy is that energy is nor created nor destroyed, just transferred from one state to another. So when I say I created the concept of the mind, body, and environment map when I was 17, really in reality I didn't create nothing. And in reality, every single medical revolution that comes to play, every single idea out there is not created because essentially in some point in time it's already there. So everything is there. It's already on a line. It's created. Kind of think of it like that. Everything is already created, and all you have to do is rearrange what's already created to come up with revolutionary insights. And that's simply what I did. I took base principles that are already created. The mind body environment map was already created in a sense. I simply took it and rearranged it into a formula that is original to me, because nobody else has rearranged it in that type of formula yet. And essentially that's what I did. So the base principles are already there. All you need to do is figure out a way to rearrange it. So nothing is created nor destroyed, only transferred from one state to another, and that's that. So every single idea that you are ever going to have is already out there. It's just the way in which you compile the constituent ideas that go into making up that idea is going to be entirely unique given that time frame that you are coming up with that idea within. I hope that summarizes it. That's pretty quote that as well. Yes. I personally believe I'm saying a lot of profound things, in a sense. And I'm talking about answering anatomy questions, and I'm getting into like thermodynamics, entropy, and philosophy, stuff like that. And I'm doing it in a way that and I'm actually being really cognizant of how I'm doing it, because I know if I say everything's interconnected in that holistic synergistic web, that it can definitely raise some conspiracies, and that is ultimately not what I want. Again, I don't want to be that guru sitting on a rock meditating, like under a waterfall. I mean that would be kind of cool though. Like, come to me for your questions and I'll give you answers. Anyways, yeah. So it's gonna boil down to intention. How do I target specific muscles like my glutes or arms? Intention. You pick up a weight, and it's ultimately not going to mean anything how you exercise the arm specifically. It's the intention that goes into it. It's how your body responds to the stimulus that you are impressing upon it, and your body is going to respond to that stimulus that you're impressing upon it entirely based on how your mind has programmed your body to respond to that stimulus. And in your job is to change how your mind has programmed your body to respond to that stimulus for optimal results. Damn. And that was a one-liner too. Anyways, how can I improve my posture with exercise? Actually, this is phenomenal thing. I always get people to do farmer carries because personally I believe farmer carries. Come on. Farmer carries. It's where you retract your scapula, hold weight, and walk. And basically what this does is it strengthens your back muscles, which helps to realign the curvature of your spine, etc. And if you do this throughout a longer period of time, you will see results. I had this one guy. He had an extreme, almost kyphotic curve to him. And it was pretty bad. But anyways, I helped him. I gave him the farmer carry exercise. And actually what's funny is I seen him the other day and he's walking upright and it's like I'm proud of him, honestly. Anyway, improve your posture with farmer carries. And that's my number one exercise that I can give you is just do farmer carries cuz it's one of the best exercises. It's one of the best exercises on the planet, and I can't stress that enough. I know I'm going from hibbity hee ha, you know what I mean? Like going from up in the clouds talking about reality and all that, and how it's all interconnected in this synergistic web, and everything is relative to everything, and all that fancy stuff. But now I'm going back into the grounded approach to how can I improve my posture with exercise. See, there is moderation with this. There's definitely moderation with this. I can think on all these levels, but evidently when I go back to certain questions, I am going to be giving you solid answers in the best ways that I can, because I do believe that it is important to understand all these higher concepts and base principles that go into structuring the results that you want to get, and how the efficiency principle is going to be the cornerstone of essentially the cornerstone of getting results. Is you want to lower your input and increase your output by doing so to get the most out of everything that you possibly can. And that is definitely a base principle that you want to work with, is the efficiency principle. I can't stress that enough, because you, like me, are only one person. You can only do so much, and if you can maximize the benefits of the efficiency principle, then you can get a lot done. Trust me. You can get a lot done, and you can do a lot in your life, because you can only do so much as one person, and you only have so much time to do that. And if you learn to significantly minimize your inputs and maximize your outputs by doing so, you will achieve so much. And this is what sets high achievers apart from people who can't achieve what they want. It's entirely based upon the efficiency principle, and that's what I'm going to be stressing about. Well, that's one of the things I'm stressing about, because it is very, 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 very important to keep that in mind. And that's just my personal take on it, but I definitely back it up with solid claims, I personally believe anyway. How can I improve my posture with exercise? One exercise, just do farmer carries. Farmer carries. Okay, what's the best type of cardio for fat loss? Based off of everything I just said, I'm not going to answer that. That is a ridiculous question. Cardio is cardio. And I actually believe I answered that particular question in the first episode I had. Yes, I did. I said the best type of cardio for weight loss is the one that you can stick to, the one that you enjoy, and the one that you can, essentially the one that you can do. Anyways, it's all gonna be relative to you as an individual, and you're gonna have to find out what works for you, and you're gonna have to do that. Again, going into certain types of cardio are going to have different stimuli effects on your body based off of how your mind has programmed your body to respond to those environmental stimulus or bodily stimulus in that sense, because your body can affect your body just like your mind can affect your mind, just like your environment can affect your environment. That's basically my answer. Okay, how do I stay consistent with my workouts? Again, going back to the principle of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, you want to ensure that you are intrinsically motivating yourself, and the only way you're going to be intrinsically motivating yourself is if you care and you prioritize it. And nobody can come around and say, "Hey man, get to work, get to work, get to work, get to work." And no matter how many times those people come around and say, "Get to work, get to work, get to work," it's not going to absorb, and you're not going to follow it. Just like you're not going to follow schoolwork if the teacher comes over and says, "You got to do your work, got to do your work." Or your parents say, "Hey, are you working?" They pop into your room, "Hey, are you working?" Just like you're not going to do it unless you motivate yourself to do it and you find the value in it yourself. And I guess that's where that cuts off. If you want to be consistent with your workouts, stop attacking yourself. Stop attacking yourself to be consistent. Just let yourself be consistent. It's not an uphill battle. It doesn't have to be an uphill battle in that sense. Like, you don't have to be Sisyphus pushing the rock uphill for eternity just to get a workout in. Go on the other side of the hill and start pushing that rock down. Stop fighting against nature. Stop fighting against everything. And just let it be what it is. And just accept it for what it is. And work with that. Go with the tide. Don't fight against it. If everything's swimming downstream, don't be the person swimming upstream. Trust me, I've done it. And I got freakishly strong doing it, and I got freakishly good at doing it. But at the end of the day, it didn't really get me anywhere, because I got swept away. Anyways, that's my answer to that question. Answered that. I already answered that. See? I answer questions that are... later, extrapolating off questions that are coming previously. Again, yes, and you can do it with heavy weights. You can build muscle with lifting without lifting heavy, and you can build muscle without lifting light. You can build muscle without lifting, in a sense. You can build muscle with lifting. You can build muscle in many different ways. You just got to figure out how to get your body to respond to the stimulus that you personally enjoy and you can stick to, because, again, that stimulus doesn't feel like pushing a rock uphill for eternity. It feels like pushing a snowball downhill and watching it grow and being proud of your efforts, because efficiency principle, All you had to do was flick that web and have it reverberate throughout everything. And the results will speak for themselves. And that's what you have to factor in. You have to figure out that the results will speak for themselves. All you have to do is take care of the input. All right. Should I be doing full body workouts or split training? Actually, this is kind of an interesting one. I like this. I'm going to get into this a little bit. Should I be doing full body workouts or split training? Well, commonly gym bro splits and all that. Split training, both work. Again, going back to the mind body environment map, all of it works so long as it works for you, so long as your body responds to it in the way that you want your body to respond to it. And that's ultimately going to bring everything in fitness full circle, is the mind body environment map. And hopefully this base concept can be applied to the health industry as well. For example, this ties into the biopsychosocial model significantly. Like, I get that the biopsychosocial model in healthcare is definitely important. It's where a large majority of our understanding evidently comes from. Not just through that, but through other mediums and vehicles that healthcare professionals have used throughout time. But I personally believe the framework of the mind-body environment map is so broad, but can be applied so narrowly, as I said previously, that it really encapsulates the entirety of the systems and can definitely allow for a base of understanding that could potentially revolutionize many, many, many industries. And that personally is where I believe I'm going to be leaving this video off. I am definitely going to be publishing the book. Eventually, when I finish the book, it's going to be quite deep. It's going to be connecting dots in ways that may or may not have ever been connected in that specific way. Like, obviously, going back to the principle I was talking about, is that everything's created. It's just transferred into state to state. Essentially, what I'm saying is that the state that I have specifically transferred the information into may or may not have ever been transferred into that state before. It doesn't mean that it has never been in that state. It just means it's never been transferred into that state in that particular order, given our current understanding and our current society, if you will. Like everything playing into the roles. Anyways, Jacked Couch Potato out. I really hope you guys found this informative. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcasts, if you will. I think it's a podcast or maybe informative lectures. I don't know. I honestly don't really know what you would call this. I think it's more like maybe a mind dump where I just share my thoughts on fitness and different topics in order to help. I share my thoughts and my insights on various different topics through the medium of health and fitness, and extrapolating off of health and fitness into a broad array of areas that potentially can be used to truly help people. And that's my goal. Anyways, I hope you guys liked it, and if you found some insights again, personally, I'm a college student. I don't have a lot of connections, So if you guys maybe know somebody that might be very knowledgeable in certain fields and might might find what I talk about interesting or have some insights into what I talk about, because I have no way to essentially, well, I actually do, but it's more it's hard to solidify what I'm saying in in a way that makes it a theory rather than a hypothesis, other than the fact that that throughout time I can provide examples. I can provide examples throughout time that aligns with everything I'm saying. But again, even in research, you can find examples throughout time that aligns with anything, and that's tricky. It's tricky to definitively state that what I'm saying is the ultimate truth or whatever, but all I can say is that my intentions are in alignment with the information I am sharing, and I believe that through that I'm going to be providing the greatest possible information that I can, because that's ultimately my intention, and I am taking concepts from a wide array of different domains and subjects, and I'm formulating them and creating parallels between them in order to kind of help others get a more holistic and broader understanding of not just themselves, but the world in which they live. And that's my goal, I guess. And if I can potentially provide insights into different fields that may allow for the experts to utilize them to revolutionize certain fields, then I believe that that is great. I contributed in some way, shape, or form, and I just hope that maybe I'm not just spinning my tires in that sense. So again, if you have anybody that might have credentials, might have like expertise in the fields that I am talking with, maybe just send my videos to them, see what they think, maybe get them to reach out to me or certain things, and then ultimately, if I can get in communication with experts and stuff, I can work with them, and I'm not saying everything I say is right, but maybe the experts will have some insights into how I can better formulate my ideas and display them in a way that definitely helps you guys, and also maybe tweaks them a bit to make them more universal or robust. See, my base ideas is I try to take the broadest concepts that can be applied in the most narrow ways, and I think that's currently been working out for me, and it's currently been allowing me to answer questions that can be tricky to answer in ways that are really, really easy to answer and provide potentially revolutionary insights into different fields. And hopefully everything I do helps you, and I hope if it does help you, you can subscribe and help me, because I would like to help more people, and I can't help. And essentially, the only way I'm going to be able to help more people is if you guys help me by sharing my content, stuff like that. And yeah, that's basically the end of it. And I appreciate you guys for sticking around for this broadcast, if you will, because if you think about it, everything I do is a one take. This right here is a one take. This is not edited. This is just me and the computer, the questions, and the camera. And I answer it in the best way I possibly can in the given moment that I can. And I basically do the best I can with where I am and what I am in the moment and what I know. And that's my goal, and I hope that it translates well. Anyways, take care. Stay tuned to next episode, hopefully. See you guys. Jack Couch Potato out.